What's going on? Feels like I just woke up from a long dream. Where did this red mark come from? Can't wipe it off. Oh well, no big deal. Good thing I'm handsome. This scar actually looks kinda cool. I'm Jacob, a free knight. Today, I'm going to run away with my princess. Her name is Rapunzel.
Monster, go to hell!
Yeah, kill her and take her eyes back to atone to the prince.
What are you doing? She's Rapunzel. She's just a poor girl who was trapped in this castle by a witch.
Open your eyes. All we see here is a monster that just killed someone.
Gothel is dead. Rapunzel. My Rapunzel. I anxiously looked up for Rapunzel. She was still sitting by the windowsill, but her golden hair had turned pitch black and her mouth was sealed shut. This must be Gothel's enemies. They came to harm both her and Rapunzel. These soldiers are no better. I'll make all of you pay. Rapunzel, where am I? My body feels like something terrible has happened, but my mind is completely blank. Why am I here, with strange marks all over my body? Marks in places that could have been fatal. Could it be Gothel found out about me and Rapunzel and did something to separate us? I have to find Rapunzel right away. What really happened to Rapunzel? The unease within me kept growing stronger. I had to deal with these soldiers quickly and rescue Rapunzel as soon as possible, even if it meant resorting to methods far from heroic. But just as I was about to reach her soft, flowing hair, a sudden chill ran across my neck. My body went numb, completely out of my control. I had failed. I couldn't save Rapunzel. Once again, I made her cry because of me. I refused to close my eyes, but darkness consumed my mind, swallowing me whole.
Even if you blind him, Mother, you can't tear our love apart.
When I could see light again, I found myself inside Rapunzel's tower.
Tonight he'll come for me and take me away from here.
That filthy mouth of yours never says anything good. Just singing and flirting to seduce men. I'll seal it shut.
Wait, this is all a misunderstanding. Why is this happening? It's like I'm nothing but a ghost, invisible to the both of them. I could do nothing but watch helplessly as Rapunzel fell victim to the curse.
Let's see how your prince will find you now.
She's the one who blinded the prince. That monster in the tower can't be any better. Burn it down.
I wanted to run to Rapunzel, to take her away. But before I could reach her, the scene before me shifted again. I found myself standing before the castle again, facing the soldiers once more. It hit me. I was nothing more than a bystander, helplessly witnessing Rapunzel's painful memories play out. It was Rapunzel all along, using her hair's magic to save me repeatedly, while I was trapped in a memoryless loop, dying a bitter death each time. And each time, only she carried the full weight of our memories, forced to watch me die before her eyes, only to bring me back with her magic once more. My lie made Gothel mistake me for the prince. In her rage, she blinded the real prince, sparking the kingdom's vengeance. And Rapunzel, innocent and undeserving, was caught in the chaos. Rapunzel, don't hurt yourself. This time, I swear, I will save her and break this endless loop. The enemy before me was suddenly struck down, impaled by something sharp. It was a strand of hair. I stared in shock as the strand of hair moved toward me. but it only brushed against my cheek, as if gently caressing me.
Don't be afraid, it's me. I've discovered I can control my hair. This time, let me fight alongside you.
Before my eyes unfolded a gruesome massacre, or rather it wasn't even a fight. Only one side was slaughtered, helpless and unable to resist. With the enemies cleared from my path, I strode confidently toward the tower. Rapunzel was waiting for me, and I gently pulled her into my arms. Rapunzel, I'm sorry for deceiving you. I'm not a prince. I'm just a cowardly knight named Jacob.
The one I love has always been you, Jacob. I'm just glad you're safe.
This land was no longer safe for us. I would take Rapunzel far away. Somewhere in the countryside, we would build a home together and live happily ever after.
Lucid dreaming had always fascinated me. The idea of controlling my dreams, bending reality to my will, was exhilarating. I spent hours reading guides, watching videos, and joining forums to learn the craft. One recurring warning, however, intrigued me the most. Never look into a mirror while lucid dreaming. It was a rule repeated in countless posts. People claimed mirrors in dreams were portals to places your mind couldn't comprehend. But rules were meant to be broken, weren't they? That night, as I drifted off to sleep, I whispered to myself, "This is a dream. I am in control." When I opened my eyes, I stood in a crumbling mansion. The air was heavy, tinged with damp rot. The walls groaned as if alive. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but I had a mission. I wandered through the dim corridors until I found it. An ornate mirror framed in black and silver, taller than me, standing against the far wall. My reflection was hazy, shifting like water. I hesitated, but curiosity pushed me forward. As I peered closer, the surface of the mirror rippled. My reflection vanished, replaced by something else. A scene unfolded before me, fiery chaos. Rivers of molten lava flowed through a barren landscape. Faceless figures writhed in agony, their silent screams haunting. The heat felt real, blistering my skin. Suddenly, the mirror pulled at me, its surface like a vortex. My feet slid forward. Panic surged, and I yanked myself back, knocking the mirror over. It shattered into countless shards, each reflecting fragments of the hellish scene. When I turned around, she was there. Her skin was pallid, almost translucent, veins spidering beneath. Her eyes were empty voids pulling at my very soul.
Leave!
She hissed, her voice echoing in the empty house.
Leave now, or regret it forever!
Before I could react, the dream collapsed into darkness. I woke up gasping, my heart pounding. The room was familiar, comforting, but the dream's intensity lingered. It was just a dream, I muttered, trying to convince myself. My phone buzzed. A last-minute work trip. I had to leave immediately. The journey was uneventful until the taxi pulled up at my lodging for the night. A small, secluded inn. My stomach twisted as I stepped out. The inn was the house from my dream. Every detail matched. The cracked paint, the warped wooden door, even the oppressive air. An older woman greeted me with a kind smile.
Welcome, dear. Let me take your bags. You must be tired.
Her face was eerily familiar. The same hollow eyes, the same pale complexion. "Thank you," I mumbled, my voice shaking. Inside, the house was even worse. Shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally and the silence was deafening. The woman led me to the living room and gestured toward the sofa.
Rest well,
she said, her smile lingering a moment too long. That's when I saw it. The mirror. It stood in the corner, identical to the one from my dream. My knees went weak. I turned to her, my voice trembling. "Where did you get that mirror?" She tilted her head, her smile never wavering.
Oh, it's always been here.
She left, and I stared at the mirror, paralyzed. It was just a coincidence, I told myself, though deep down, I knew better. Minutes later, she returned with a tray.
Tea?
She offered. I took the cup, my hands shaking. She watched me, waiting. Something about her gaze felt wrong, predatory. Her smile stretched a little too wide, her eyes lingering on me too long. My fingers trembled as I held the cup, every instinct screaming at me not to drink. With a sharp motion, I flung the tea at her. The cup shattered and she recoiled, her face twisting with something unhumanly sinister. Without waiting to see what would happen next, I bolted. Outside, I flagged down a passing taxi, my hands shaking as I climbed in. As the car sped away, relief began to replace my fear. I had escaped, or so I thought. The road was empty, shrouded in a thick fog that seemed to swallow everything beyond a few meters. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. The driver swerved to avoid her, but the car skidded and crashed into a tree. My head slammed against the window, and the world blurred. When I came to, the driver was gone. I was alone in the wreck, surrounded by suffocating silence. Then she appeared, the pale woman, standing just beyond the shattered windshield.
Death is inevitable.
She whispered, her voice echoing in the stillness. I scrambled out of the car, running blindly through the fog until I stumbled upon a small, unlit house. The door was unlocked, and I threw myself inside, slamming it shut behind me. The house was eerily quiet, each room draped in shadows. As I opened a door at the end of the hallway, I froze. There I was, lying on a bed, my chest rising and falling as though in sleep. Is this still a dream? Or am I... Before I could finish, the pale woman materialized behind me.
You've already crossed the line. There's no going back.
I turned to her, my mind racing. If this was a dream, I could wake myself up. I lunged toward my sleeping form, desperate to return to my body. But she was faster. Her icy grip closed around my wrist, dragging me backward.
No one escapes their fate.
She hissed. I struggled, kicking and screaming, but her strength was inhuman. Her stomach stretched impossibly wide, revealing an abyss of darkness. With one final pull, she swallowed me whole.
With over 5 years of experience working at this print shop, this is the first time I've encountered such an issue, and it makes me feel extremely uncomfortable. For a person with severe OCD like me, doing everything meticulously and accurately down to the millimeter is how I minimize risks in both work and life. A stray thread, an extra scrap of paper, or an uneven edge always catches my attention and leaves me feeling deeply unsettled. The torn piece of skin on my hand right now is no exception. I feel compelled to clean it up and make it look neat and tidy. Looking at the perfectly treated wound on my hand, I can finally rest easy and fall asleep. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. The itch at my fingertips kept throbbing. The regrowing skin made me restless. I sat up and stared at my finger, seeing it start to scab over, the dry, hard crust and the wrinkled skin around it. So ugly, I calmly concluded. I reached out to peel off the scab, seeing the leftover skin tear a bit more. I kept peeling until the strip of skin extended over 2 knuckles. Looking at the peeled off strip, the pain disappeared, replaced by a feeling of nerve tension, a sense of satisfaction from having done something perfect. I felt my fingertips itching, burning, urging me to act, to make sure my whole hand had matching wounds so the perfect feeling in my eyes could last longer. Perfect. Satisfying. That was my first feeling when I looked at the 2 symmetrical wounds on my hands. The clock showed 3 a.m. My eyes were stinging and my hands were sore. I contentedly lay back down to enjoy a good night's sleep. I hadn't been asleep for long when I felt something crawling on me. The sound of something crunching and rustling disrupted my sleep, pulling me from the edge of unconsciousness. Unable to bear it any longer, I bolted upright. I had to find the intruder and get rid of it. Before my eyes was a large ant trying to bite my finger. I've always maintained a spotless lifestyle, so ants have no place in my home. Furious, I crushed the ant, but the rustling sound persisted. I turned to my bedside table, and what I saw was revolting. A swarm of ants was feasting on the discarded bits of skin I had trimmed earlier. The sight sent chills down my spine. Grabbing a can of insect spray, I went on the offensive. The ants were swiftly defeated, and the maddening rustling finally stopped. Utterly exhausted, I decided to ignore my brain's protests and the chaotic mess on my bedside table. I told myself I'd clean it up in the morning. For now, my body desperately needed rest. But sleep wouldn't come. My whole body felt itchy. Maybe it was the venom from the large ant, or maybe it was just my OCD brain rebelling against my laziness. For the 3rd time that night, I woke up. A fiery rage surged through me, and I swore to annihilate anything that dared disrupt my sleep. Then, I found it. A cursed ant was trying to eat me alive. It had burrowed its entire body into the wound on my left hand, leaving only its tail sticking out. I frantically tried to pull it out with my fingers, but the ant succeeded in wriggling entirely into my finger. An unbearable, agonizing sensation overwhelmed me. I could feel every tiny movement of the ant inside my body, its path causing the skin above it to bulge grotesquely. The horror drove me to my limit. I grabbed the edge of the wound and tore the skin away, desperate to catch it. The ant began crawling up my left arm, and I continued ripping the skin in a long, jagged strip, chasing after it as it moved. I focused all my energy on the battle with the ant. It was tunneling under my skin while I tore the flesh above it, creating a path to finally catch it. The chase felt endless, and the strip of skin I peeled away grew longer and longer. Finally, I cornered the ant. The strip of my skin snapped loose entirely, and there it was, right in front of me. Satisfied, I crushed my enemy with all my might. A wave of triumph and pride surged through me, but at the same time, an excruciating, burning pain coursed through my body. Startled, I looked down at myself. My entire body was now stripped of its outer layer of skin, leaving me raw and exposed. The long strip of skin dangled from my hand, but something was pulling at the other end. I turned to look, and there it was. A massive, grotesque ant, far larger than any I'd ever seen. Worse, it was tugging at my skin strip, trying to devour it. Furious, I fought to reclaim my skin. I couldn't live with a body stripped bare like this. But the ant was faster. It opened its enormous jaws and slurped my skin like a strand of spaghetti. The creature swelled grotesquely, growing to the size of a 10-year-old child. Its abdomen bulged to near bursting, and I could see clearly through its translucent belly the remains of the ants I had killed earlier. Along with my skin, the ant let out a smug belch, as if mocking me. Consumed by rage, I lunged at the monstrous creature, determined to destroy it. Caught off guard, the ant couldn't fight back in time. I pinned it to the ground and unleashed a storm of kicks, venting all my fury. Its swollen abdomen couldn't withstand the pressure and burst open with a sickening pop. My skin stripped, crushed ant corpses and viscous fluids sprayed all over my room. I stood amidst the chaos, seething with frustration. But first, I needed to retrieve my skin. I stood in front of the mirror, satisfied as I admired my new skin coat. Perhaps this was the perfection I had been searching for all along.